It was supposed to be an ordinary night for Eileen Sarmenta, a 21-year-old University of the Philippines Los Banos, UPLB, horticulture student, and her friend Alan Gomez, a 19-year-old agricultural student. But June 28, 1993, would become the night they crossed paths with pure evil, a night that would shock the Philippines to its core. Their deaths were not random acts of violence. They were targeted, brutalized, and silenced by the hands of a powerful man who believed himself untouchable. Mayor Antonio Sanchez of Calauan, Laguna. Eileen and Alan had been out that evening, unaware they were being watched. Unbeknownst to them, Mayor Sanchez had already set his eyes on Eileen. His men had orders to bring her to him no matter the cost. As they made their way through UPLB's quiet campus roads, a van screeched to a stop beside them. Before they could react, 6 armed men jumped out, guns drawn, and grabbed them. Eileen's screams were quickly muffled as she was forced into the vehicle, with Alan thrown in beside her. There was no chance to fight back. The kidnappers were no ordinary criminals. They were Sanchez's trusted men. Their destination? A private rest house in Calauan, the personal lair of Mayor Antonio Sanchez. Inside the rest house, Alan Gomez was dragged away and beaten mercilessly. The young man was pistol-whipped, kicked, and punched, his face swollen beyond recognition. His only crime? Being with Eileen that night. Meanwhile, Eileen was brought before Sanchez. Sanchez, the same mayor who falsely paraded himself as a devout Catholic. He assaulted Eileen repeatedly, fulfilling his twisted desires. When he was done, he handed her over to his men, who took turns assaulting her as well. She endured unimaginable pain. After hours of torment, Sanchez and his men decided there would be no witnesses. Eileen was driven to a secluded sugarcane field in Barangay Mabacan, Laguna. She was forced out of the vehicle and made to kneel. One of the men pulled the trigger, executing her with a shotgun blast to the face. The force of the shot blew off part of her head. Her right eye was destroyed, and her shirt was rolled up over her chest. Her white shorts pulled down to her ankles, a final act of degradation. Her favorite white sneakers remained on her feet, a heartbreaking reminder of her innocence. Her murderers stuffed a handkerchief into her mouth, as if even in death they wanted her silenced. Later, her father could only identify her body by the distinctive mole on her cheek. Her face was barely recognizable from the damage. Alan suffered a similarly gruesome fate. His tortured body was found dumped in a garbage site, riddled with multiple bullet wounds, a final brutal execution to eliminate him as a witness. News of the crime spread quickly, sending shockwaves across the country. The sheer brutality of the murders, coupled with the fact that a sitting mayor was behind them, ignited public outrage. Witnesses began coming forward. A woman who had overheard conversations between the men testified against them. Physical evidence, including Eileen's remains and the forensic findings, pointed directly to Mayor Antonio Sanchez and his men. The trial was one of the most highly publicized cases in Philippine history. The nation watched as Sanchez and his 6 accomplices were found guilty. The verdict? 7 life sentences. But justice was bittersweet. Despite his conviction, Sanchez continued to live comfortably behind bars, enjoying privileges that ordinary prisoners could never dream of. He even attempted to secure an early release in 2019 national protests. Ultimately, Sanchez died in prison in 2021, never truly paying for the full extent of his crimes. Eileen's mother, Aurora Sarmenta, once said, "Justice may have been served, but nothing will bring my daughter back. I only pray no other parent will ever have to suffer this pain."